Only the Board B Equality mark ensures you know where your food comes from, because it's independently checked at every stage.
Many of us are trying to make a few small changes to our diet to look better, feel better, and generally be a little bit healthier. Certainly in the food world, health is the buzzword at the moment, and I'm definitely cooking different things at home and in the restaurant. For this series, I've come up with a selection of quick, tasty recipes, and while I don't claim to be a health expert, I'm confident that you can enjoy them as part of a balanced diet. On today's programme, I'm going to be cooking with one of the busiest men I know, Daithi O'Shea, and showing him how to cook a really fast lamb dish. I love brunch, but this haddock and potato rosti dish is delicious anytime. But first of all, two really nutritious and amazingly tasty soups. Soups are a great way of getting nutritious ingredients into your family's diet, and I have two very different soups for you today. The first one, I've made a homemade stock. By making your stock, you can control the amount of salt. It's actually very easy to make, to be honest with you. The second soup I'm going to show you is with butterbean, smoked bacon, root vegetables. Absolutely delicious. So I want to talk about the stock that I have here. It's got a full chicken, skin on, and I've just simply cooked it with some water, some vegetables, black peppercorns, carrot, root vegetables, bay leaf in there. You can put thyme into it, you can put garlic into it. We just literally bought this to the boil in a casserole pot and we've simmered it for about an hour. Lift it out because I'm going to chop this and I'm going to put this into our chicken and orzo soup. And it takes about an hour and you can smell the goodness there. So it's a lovely, lovely light broth this. So I'm just going to let that cool. And then with the stock, you can freeze this because there's no salt in this. It's the pure essence from the vegetables and from the chicken. So I'm just going to strain this here through a sieve. And with the vegetables that are left, you can make a very simple soup, just blend them. Add some stock, full of goodness, so it is. Now, I'm not going to use that because I'm going to put more vegetables in it. I'm going to put some orzo into it, some thyme, and then finish it with the chicken. So now I'm going to move on to the butterbean soup. Turn up the pan. I'm going to use a little bit of rapeseed oil. And we're going to put in our vegetables. Tiny little dice of onion here. And we're going to use some carrots in this. So we've diced the carrots nice and small. Some smoked bacon lardons, which have just been diced. You can buy them pre-diced in the supermarket. And of course, if you were making this for a vegetarian, you'd leave out the bacon lardons. 1 clove of garlic, crush it in here. And then ginger. If you're using ginger with the skin on, it's much stronger. Some mild curry powder, a teaspoonful of that in. And I'm going to put in a teaspoonful of turmeric, which is an Indian spice, gives a lovely colour and flavour. Now I'm going to add in some tomato puree. This will thicken it, it'll enrich it. So just a good squeeze of that. So let's stir everything together, distributing the spices, the ginger, the garlic, and the tomato puree in here. And then butter beans, they're pre-cooked. You just rinse them through a sieve with some water, some chicken stock here. Just stir this through. Lid goes on. So all that's needed to go into that is a little bit of black pepper, because I feel there's enough salt in the bacon. Now, before I prepare the chicken, I'm going to put in my root vegetables. I'm going to put in my orzo. So first of all, my vegetables, which are diced. Celery, I love celery. You can use celeriac, which is the bulb of celery. Absolutely delicious. And some carrots. So that's going to go into the pan. Now I'm going to talk to you about orzo. I use quite a bit of it in the restaurant, and it's in the shape of rice, but it is pasta. There is gluten in this. I sometimes cook it in some vegetable stock, strain it, finish it maybe with some creme fraiche and some smoked salmon or basil. It works really well. Or even in a salad with some sun-dried tomatoes. It's delicious. So it's a broth we're making here. So sprinkle that all in there. Stir this through. Because the vegetables are cut nice and small, they're not going to take long to cook. Just put a big lid onto that. So that's the stock that I strained from the chicken. And then here's our beautiful quality assured chicken, which we're going to prep up. And you got to let it cool down. It's just impossible to work if it's too hot. Look at how just soft and tender it is, beautifully poached. I'm just going to take the legs off first of all. And this is called the oyster here. So that little piece there is full of flavour. Now, the wishbone's there, so just get your fingers in there. And then just simply pull it apart. Take your time, just working all along the breastbone. Open it up like that, and then take it down. So you've got as much flavour. If you wanted to make this stock, get the roast bones with your vegetables, with water, and you can make a lovely homemade stock. I'm just going to remove the wings, remove the fat from the chicken, remove any of the bones here. I'm very tempted to eat this, to be honest with you, but I'm going to keep it for the soup. So we're going to dice away here. It's still warm, but it's not mad hot. So that's my chicken done. Just got to wash my hands. Before I add my cooked chicken, I need to check that the vegetables are cooked and the orzo. Now, I know by looking at it that it's plumped up, it's cooked, it's nearly transparent, as you can see. So I'm going to finish this off, add in 2 of the chicken breasts, which we diced. I get some fresh thyme here and a little bit of flat leaf parsley. So we're going to chop everything. Keep the knife on the board, and that goes in there. So that'll add lovely freshness and flavour to the actual broth. Tiny little bit of black pepper. That's it ready, as simple as that. Now, for my other soup, we have our vegetables which are cooked, the lovely butter beans. So they're already cooked. It's really the vegetables, you have your lardons in there. I'm going to remove a little bit, and I'm going to use a slotted spoon for this because I'm going to put that on top of the soup for a little bit of texture. You can see they're lovely and yellow, and that's because of the turmeric, but also it's because of the curry powder. And then some black pepper and some milk, and then we blend it. Simple as that. So now I'm just going to finish the butter bean soup with some semi-skimmed milk. So this will enrich it, but it'll keep it nice and light. And we're going to hand blend it. You can put this into a food processor if you don't have a hand blender, don't worry about that. Just bring it nice and close to you. So the longer you blend it, the smoother it will become. And that's what we call a velouté. Especially with the butter beans, it gives a little kind of smooth, velvety mouthfeel to it. A soup like this is a great way of disguising vegetables, especially if you have young children who don't like vegetables. It's all in here. So I'm happy with that. I want a little bit of texture. Get a soup ladle, and we're going to serve my butter bean soup. Look at the colour. Now that's from the carrots, the turmeric, and also the curry. These are your butter beans here, your carrots, and just arrange them on top. You want a little bit of texture, makes your soup nice and interesting. For a little bit of freshness, put some flat leaf parsley, which I'm just going to rip off these small little, and hopefully they won't blow away. I'm going to serve up my chicken and orzo soup next. Just give it a final little stir, and make sure you get plenty of that lovely chicken in. My twins adore this soup. They would bite the arm off you for this. Full of goodness. The hug in a bowl, that's the way I describe something like that. These are 2 of my favourite soups. Very easy to make, and I think all the family will enjoy them. With the chicken stock, it's well worth the effort making it, full of goodness and absolutely delicious. People often say to me that they like to cook, but that they don't have the time. Daithi O'Shea lives in Galway, but commutes to Cork to make RT's daily afternoon show today. He loves his food, but claims he can't cook. I want to show him something that's quick, easy, and ideal for people with a hectic schedule. Daithi, I've got the perfect dish for you after a long journey. Grilled lamb cutlets. I'm going to show you how to make a marinade. We're going to do a lovely butter bean stew and show you how to make like a tomato sauce. So it's quick, it's healthy, and it's not a heavy dish.
See, I see lots of lovely things here now, but I'd never be able to put them together like this.
You will. Trust me.
I hope so, no.
I know you will. First of all, you're going to feel very much at home. This is quality assured ring of Kerry lamb.
Lovely.
I'm going to get you, Daithi, to crush 2 cloves of garlic just over the lamb. So the garlic is just peeled. I'm going to grab a little bit of rosemary. I hope you like rosemary.
I do, I sure do. Just over like that?
Yeah, over like that, exactly. When you chop a fresh herb like this, you're going to release the flavour.
The smell of rosemary always reminds me of Sundays inside our house when we were growing up.
And would that be your mum who would
Mum was in charge of everything.
Really?
You weren't allowed into the kitchen.
Honestly?
Yeah, and you weren't allowed to clean up after them. Get out from under my legs, out. The whole lot of us out.
No washing up?
No, well, Mum did all the washing up.
Great woman.
Mum was still doing the washing up.
Great woman, bless. Now, I want you to grab this and then just sprinkle this all over the lamb. I'm going to use some lemon rapeseed oil in this, so a nice drizzle of this.
The rapeseed oil has really taken off, and you can see all the different brands all over Ireland. And when you're travelling, as you and I do, you can see the fields as well. It's unbelievable, and they really stick out. All you see is this big yellow field in the middle of nowhere.
It's a great oil, first of all, to cook with. It's a healthier oil because it lowers your cholesterol, but also you're supporting Irish farmers, so everyone wins.
Everybody wins.
Now, a little bit of lemon zest. If you can leave this overnight, we're not going to have time, but leave it for at least about an hour.
It's funny we're doing lamb today today because when I was younger and working in the butcher counter, we just cut up so much lamb that I really didn't kind of really like it. Thinking, I stayed away from it. I kind of went towards chicken and pork. Probably in the last 4 or 5 years, and I discovered how tasty it could be. So yeah, I gave about 4 years working in a meat counter, and I remember local farmers as well killing lambs and stuff like that. And you go to help them out, cutting them up and stuff like that, and gathering up all the blood from the pigs and making black pudding and everything. We did all that when we were younger, and sure, it was a great experience.
I'm going to get you to crush 2 cloves of garlic in here, Daithi. While you're doing that, I'm just going to heat my pan. Turn this up. I'm going to use a little bit of plain rapeseed oil. Now, okay, let's come on over. We're going to just cook this off for a minute to soften it. So we have our red onion there. We also have the garlic. Roughly about a spoonful of oil here. And we just let this soften for a minute. Do you get time to cook?
I find it hard to get time to cook, really. When you have a wife at home who's a great cook, and she's a great baker as well.
Really?
Yeah, she loves stuff like, she brings the American influence into the house with red velvet cupcakes and whoopie pies and stuff like that.
She loves baking, does she?
She loves baking and I like eating. So
it's not
great. It's a dangerous combination, Neven.
Yeah. So I'm going to put a tiny little bit of the dried chilli. So if you put in the whole can of tomatoes, lovely. And I'm just going to mush them up. There should be tomato puree there,
This isn't double concentrate or anything, or
it is.
What's the difference?
It's a little bit more intense in flavour, a little bit sweeter, and I think it enriches the kind of sauce that we're making here. A little splash of red wine vinegar. It's a nice, subtle vinegar, and you put a wee pinch of sugar in there, just some castor sugar. That's the smallest pinch I've ever seen.
Well, I'm afraid. You always told me before it was easier to put it in than to take it out.
Yeah, true. You're right. You're right. Yeah.
See, listen, I do listen to you when you're on our show.
We have some stock over there, a low salt stock cube callow. So if you pour half of that in, perfect. So we're going to let this stew here. Lid on. Okay. We're going to get our lamb on. So I'm going to turn up my pan, nice and full. So with the lamb marinated. Now the secret into cooking the lamb, or any meat, cook it at room temperature. I have these sitting out for the last half an hour. Put a good sprinkle. This is some dingle or ackle sea salt. It's an Irish sea salt all over. You only season the meat at the last minute before it goes on.
Why is that?
If you do it too soon, it dries out the meat. And you lose a lot of succulent and moisture. Now we're going to put a little bit.
We don't want that.
No, you don't want that. Put a little bit of black pepper if you don't mind. Over the meat too.
Over the meat.
You're putting it on the dry pan.
Well, listen.
That's interesting. You're going to dry roast your spices. I'm impressed.
I'm a professional eater.
Yeah. Now let's just test this. Immediately when it goes on,
that's the first
you hear
test.
that sizzle.
It's hot enough then.
And if it isn't, don't panic. Take it off and wait a minute.
That was one of the mistakes I've always made, Neven, is that throwing stuff into a pan that wasn't hot enough. And I think lots of people do that as well.
What happens is the white protein comes out.
Yeah.
You want to keep all the goodness in the meat, not have it in the pan. Yeah. Tiny little pinch of salt just over the lamb. Now we need to turn the lamb about 5-6 minutes. They'll be done. I'm going to get you to chop some herbs. We're going to put a little bit of flat leaf parsley, and I'm going to put a little bit of sage. Firstly, I just want to go over to the lamb. We want to sear it off, get a nice bit, and look at that. Oh, yeah. You need to be careful, especially with the garlic, because that will burn very easily, so it will. So the technique is to get a lovely crust on it. I'm happy with that. Great technique. You're a natural.
Listen, I'll have my own cookery show next now, Neven.
Brilliant. What I always like to do, put the herbs into the sauce at the last minute. So we'll just leave them over to the side. We are going to cook a little bit of spinach. And also, this is unusual. This is some ruby shard. All we need to do, Daithi, is just simply remove that little stem there. We're going to wilt this off. You bring over the herbs.
No bother.
I'll bring over the beans.
Is there any way? Do I carry it on the knife?
Yeah, on the knife.
I'm really happy I didn't go out last night, Neven, because you're really showing up my techniques today.
I'm going to put in the butter beans. Stir them through there. I'll put a little pinch of salt in.
Rita's going to be very impressed when I make this for her, Neven.
Well, I'm very impressed.
Listen.
I have to say. I'm going to just flip over the lamb. That lovely little grill effect. We just want to warm them through. I'm going to switch off the butter beans. I'm going to show you how to wilt some spinach, and you can do this for any kind of leafy green. We are going to use a little bit of butter. I worked with a chef in Luxembourg called Leah Leinster. This is the way she cooks spinach. Butter, oil, so the oil stops the butter from burning, a pinch of salt, and a tiny little pinch of sugar. Just to sweeten it. So I'm just warming this through here, and I just want to show you this here, what this looks like. There's a little bit of texture, nice little bit of colour. And I like the fact that the beans go in at the last minute.
Yeah. Put in the beans early on, would they go mushy?
They would.
Yeah, okay.
They're already cooked. So that's our spinach done. I have a little bowl over here. You can go back over there. And if you get the spinach onto that, that kitchen paper acts like a sponge. Okay. So it absorbs all that water that comes out of the spinach. Yeah, cover it with the paper. And I will get the rest of our ingredients over. That's our lamb done. Get our lovely sauce. So let's bring everything over. Now, We'd need your mum here to tidy up after us, wouldn't we?
I'm telling you, she'd probably take over and present the end of the show and everything, Neven.
Do you get to see her often, Daithi?
Do you know, thanks be to God, she uses her free pass up to Galway a lot. So she comes up all the time, because I find it hard to go home to Kerry.
I'm keeping everything separate, so you can take a spoonful of everything. So they're nicely cooked. I'm going to get you, if you don't mind, see the feta cheese.
Yeah.
If you use a small knife and just cube that, please.
Big or small cubes?
It doesn't matter. You know, so it's, yeah, perfect, yeah.
Where do you want the feta cheese?
Just kind of sprinkle it over this here, yeah. Perfect. So that adds a lovely kind of creaminess and a saltiness. Did it on top of the sauce, it'll kind of melt down through it. And a little bit of just parsley, just for presentation. You grab a knife and fork.
Look at that. I've been looking forward to this now all day.
So you should get a little bit of texture.
There's so much happening there, it's beautiful. And then to put the creaminess of the cheese into it, absolutely beautiful.
There's not going to be much left after you finish that, huh?
That's the idea anyway.
Daithi, thank you so much for being in Neven,
thank you very much for having me.
Lovely to be down in Galway with you.
Listen, can I take the
Great
plate?
to see you. Of course you can.
I'm afraid those fellas will take my dinner from me.
I hope to see you again, Daithi. Thanks
Thank you very much for having me.
Gentlemen.
An absolute pleasure. I'm going to make this for Rita as a surprise, but I have to make it before the show goes out.
Look for the Board Be Equality mark, because it looks after you. Look for the Board Be Equality mark, because it looks after you.
We're filming this series at Airfield, a 38-acre working farm that's near Dundrum in Dublin. It was set up as a charitable trust in 1974 by the Overend sisters, and its aim is to help people make a connection between the food that they eat and the land that produces it. At the farm, visitors can watch the Jersey cows being milked. The milking machines have been specially designed to make the process easy to understand. And every day you can also collect the eggs. When calves, piglets or lambs are born, visitors are able to watch that as well. There are wonderful flower, fruit and vegetable gardens at Airfield, and all of the food produced here, including the beef, lamb and chicken, is used in Overend's restaurant on the estate. I think it's so important for people, and especially children, to understand where their food comes from and how it's produced. So having an authentic working farm that you can visit right on the edge of the city is amazing. Whenever I get the opportunity, I really enjoy going out for brunch. And this dish is a beautiful brunch dish. It's a little bit more substantial than a breakfast dish and maybe not as heavy for a lunch dish. And there's great techniques in this, from poaching the haddock to making a rosti and to poaching an egg. So the first thing we need to do is poach our natural smoked haddock. The skin is on, the scales are removed, and we're just going to poach that in some milk, which is from the farm here in Airfield, some lovely Jersey cow milk. Put in some onion, slice your onion. Traditionally, when you poached fish, you done what you called an onion cloute, which is a full onion, stud it with cloves, and then what you do is you just simply put it in that. Place a bay leaf in here, break it up a little bit, make a little bed of onions there for the fish to sit into. Lift off the fish, so it's naturally smoked, it's pin bone, so there's no bones. Sit that in there, Takes about maybe 4 to 5 minutes. Bring it to the boil, let it simmer, and then with that lovely brazen liquor, we're going to make a beautiful sauce to serve with it. So next thing we're going to do is do our rosti. Peel your potatoes. Use a tea towel to absorb any excess moisture. Use this coarse end of the grater like you'd grate cheese for. So I'm going to serve 2 rostis for that serving of haddock. Now, that should be more than enough. Get the tea towel, squeeze. You'll just see the water coming out. And then in a clean bowl, put in the grated potato. We're going to put in some chopped herbs, a little bit of flat leaf parsley, a little bit of melted butter. Gives a lovely golden brown colour to the rosti. Do you know what's lovely in here? Some smoked bacon. Grill a little bit of smoked bacon, chop it in. It's so delicious. Chop my herbs, and I'm going to chop it quite roughly, not very fine at all. I'm going to go into the bowl and mix this all through. Use a spoon for this. So that is our grated potato, ready to go onto the pan. Haddock, I'm going to switch it off. Happy with that. So I've just gently brought it to the boil. It's going to finish off in the cooking liquor. I'm going to use this. It's a spray olive oil, which is kind of very low in calories. So a little spray of this, cover the base of the pan. Get your potato. Make sure the pan is hot. Put this into the pan. I want a nice thin rosti. I don't want a very thick one. And we're going to spread this out using the fork. You can use your fingers, but be careful you don't touch the pan. It is hot. And we're going to get this nice and crispy. So what I'm going to do with a fish slice, I'm going to press it nice and flat. Keep it on a full heat. I'm going to take about a minute or two to crisp up because I want it cooked through and golden brown. Meanwhile, lift out my haddock using a slotted spoon. See the onions there. Pull them away. Bring over your plate. And with that lovely milk, the Jersey milk from here in Airfield, passes through a sieve. So you have the flavour of the onion, the flavour of the bay leaf. Bring this to the boil. Before I finish my sauce, back onto our rosti. Using the fish slice, flip it over, and there we go. Now I do want to cook the other side, so it's cooked through. Back onto our sauce. Put a little bit of black pepper in here. Tiny little pinch of salt. Go easy on that because sometimes when they naturally smoked the haddock, it can be salty. We are going to put in a little bit of mustard and some lemon zest and some lemon juice. Just some English mustard is fine. Go easy on this because this can be quite strong, so just a little, you can always add more. Whisk this through. You're really wasting nothing when you think of it. You have the lovely poaching liquor that you've cooked the fish in. There's all the flavour there. Now, grate a little bit of lemon. I must say I love this sauce, and it's lovely even if you make eggs Benedict at home. Some lemon juice. Make sure there's no pits in it. A little squeeze of lemon juice in here. And then I'm going to thicken this with a little bit of corn flour. Don't want to put it too much now because if it's too thick, it's very heavy, and that's not what I want. So you just dilute this. And then we can start to poach our egg. Most important, when you add in the corn flour, keep whisking it so you get a nice, smooth, velvety sauce. Okay, that looks good. Let that simmer away there. For our eggs, pinch of salt in a deep saucepan, tiny little splash of vinegar. There we go. And I'm just using white wine vinegar. You don't have to use an expensive vinegar. Some quality assured eggs. Crack it here, just on the side of the board. Stir it through like that. Now what the vinegar does, it actually holds the whole egg white together. So you've got to move fast when you do this. Right, our rosti. Flip it over. So it's golden brown on both sides. And I just need to get another rosti done. So this is going to be my serving plate. If you want to keep them warm, cover them in a little bit of tin foil. More oil. Big pile in the middle. Spread this out then. Just make sure it's more or less. It doesn't even have to be as big as the last one. And then again, with the fish slice, press that down. My second rosti is ready. I'm going to switch that off. Just to finish the sauce, a couple of little chives. A lovely herb in this sauce too is chervil. It's not a very strong herb, slightly aniseedy. And also when you're poaching the fish, what I really like is fennel, bronze fennel. Very easy herb to grow. So I use the bay leaf, but of course you can use whatever herbs you have. Bring over the chives, put them in at the last minute, whisk it through. So that's our sauce. We're ready to go. With the first rosti, we've picked some watercress. So sprinkle this all over. Then we have our rosti. Put this on top. We have our fish, which we poached, and it's still warm. Don't worry about the skin, you can just peel that off. I like to cook it with the skin so that it holds together. And then I'm going to use a slotted spoon to remove the egg, which we poached. The center of the egg is perfectly cooked. So at this stage, if you wanted to poach your eggs ahead, you'd put it into some iced water, warm it up in boiling water, literally for a minute or two. So be very careful. The egg is lovely and soft. And then the sauce. Get those lovely chives, drizzle a little bit. Don't completely cover the egg. Drizzle a little bit around the plate. This is a great combination of flavours and textures. You have the softly poached egg, the flaky natural smoked haddock, and the crispy potato rosti. Next time I meet Maureen Gaffney, the well-known and much-admired psychologist who cooks a stress-busting chicken dish for me, and I cook some sweet but healthy treats and an omega-3 packed salmon dish.
Only the Board B Equality mark ensures you know where your food comes from, because it's independently checked at every stage.